Hi, my name is Anthony Fopiano and I am living better small, a better life through minimalism. This video is just going to be the first in a continuing series of videos where I teach or instruct of a lifestyle that is really becoming popular these days. A lifestyle rooted in a concept called minimalism. Some of you may be familiar, some of you maybe not. This video is just an intro where I will be speaking briefly about some details about myself and a little bit about my philosophy of minimalism. First, to tell you about myself, I'm a minimalist, obviously. I have been so my entire life, or my entire adult life, I should say. It wasn't until about 2014, was it 2018 now? It wasn't, yeah, until about 2014 that I even knew what minimalism was, or knew that I was a minimalist, I should say. I didn't know there was a word for it. Until then, I just thought, living minimal, focusing just on the people in my life and experiences rather than material possessions. I thought that was just the way I was. I actually found out later from a friend who actually told me I was a minimalist, that's what I was. And then at that point, I just started doing research and looking into other minimalists. I pretty much found my kin. And once I found that there was a small population that felt the same way I did about living my life, I then decided that I wanted to preach on my own. So for about 2 years now, since I should say the end of 2015 into 2016, I have been basically preaching about minimalism, instructing different tips, tricks, different mindset, teaching of the philosophy of minimalism. Even more to the point, the philosophy is what it's all about of minimalism since about 2016. That's about right. I started with my Facebook page, and then from there I moved to a blog, and I incorporated the two. And now I wish to start a YouTube channel. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. Now, as far as my philosophy of minimalism itself, now minimalism is defined differently depending on from one minimalist to the next. You'll find all kinds of videos all over YouTube, different channels of other minimalists that teach you of their philosophy and their definition of minimalism, and you'll find that it varies. The exact definition of minimalism varies very much from one minimalist to the next. So in truth, I can only really preach, I can only teach, I can only instruct about my particular philosophy of minimalism. And I'll give you that definition right now. Basically, minimalism I would define as creating a life of intention, a life of focus, by discarding all the elements that add little or no value to it. Now, elements, that's kind of a strange word. What do you mean by elements, Anthony? Well, an element is basically anything in your life, from the material possessions to the the things you do, the people you include. All the things in your life are essentially elements. All the things that are taking up time and space and money, of course, are essentially elements. And so my philosophy dictates that you will have a much greater joy in your life because you will have you'll be able to focus. You'll have a life of greater focus, a life of intention, and because of that, you'll have a life of greater joy once you have eliminated or discarded all the elements in your life that add little or no value to it. Now, these, like I said, these elements could be unused material possessions, clutter in the home. They could be toxic thoughts, toxic patterns, toxic attitude, toxic people, and just time-wasting activities and thoughts. Anything that going on in your life that adds no value to it. In future videos, I'll be discussing more on my philosophy of minimalism. I will be actually going into those toxic elements, all that clutter, all those elements that add no value to your life, and breaking them down one by one, and instruct on how to recognize these elements, how to remove them from your life, because not all of them are just so easy to remove, and be giving you some tips and tricks on different ways to conduct your lifestyle, so that way you can remove that clutter and keep it out, to remove those elements and keep those elements out of your life. Now, one thing I do want to say that separates my philosophy or my teachings from the teachings of other minimalists or what separates my instruction from the instruction of other minimalists out there, other people that like to preach about how that they've incorporated minimalism in their life, is that I really get into the why of minimalism. Why should we do it? Why? Which is really the philosophical end, obviously, of minimalism and why people should incorporate it. I will tell you why. I'll break down all the whys of minimalism over the course of my videos. The reason why I believe that's more important than the how, because you'll find a lot of other minimalists really dive deep into the how. How do I declutter? How do I do this? How do I remove these things from my life? How do I simplify my life? Because the why, once you know the why, the how follows. It'll be automatic. I can go through a whole spiel of teaching you a whole bunch of tips and tricks and life hacks, as they like to call it, to minimize our lives, to minimize your life. But I believe that if I teach more of the why, why the minimalism, why should I do these things, why, and really dig into that, it is my hope that I will alter your perception, so that way you won't need to have any tips or tricks on how to remove these things from your life. It'll simply follow from the lifestyle that you've now accepted. It'll follow from your new mindset and how you view the world and how you view all the elements in your life. That's what I believe makes me different from other minimalists that preach the word of minimalism. So in future posts, I will be discussing more on the details of that philosophy, in all of its aspects. Also, I will be doing some of the how as well, because it's always nice to have good tips and tricks to help you through the process. That ends this video. Be sure to check out my next video where I'm doing some Q&A. So, see you then. If you like what you've seen here, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Also, check out my website, livingbettersmall.com, and if you like what you've seen there, you can subscribe there as well. Also, check out my book, Living Better Small, A Better Life Through Minimalism. That's available for both Kindle and Nook. You can also get it on paperback on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and many other book retailers.